Well, it means, when you hear that music, it means that it is time for another show. I guess it means it wasn't in black and white.
There's I've got my mug.
Oh,
Hope everybody's got their mug.
Wow, your cup runs.
Well, I'm old enough. I remember the black and white TVs, and then the first color was you put a film over your black and white TV, and that gave you the color.
Real high technology,
that sound
man. You put put some kind of a. You put some.
I've got this mug.
Now let's see what you got there. Put that mug up there. Let me give you a mug shot. Oh wow,
that one's mine.
That is
so I've got one of the mug shot mugs too. But I've got this too.
Okay, that is a good one. That is a good one. I like it. I like that a lot. I like the fact that it's the old Indian, it's the tribe, it's got Trump, the whole works. Because we should never have gotten. We got to talk to Dolan. We got to start talking to Dolan. Why did you get rid of our logo for the tribe? I mean that was wonderful. All right, we got a great guest tonight. Heather Hill, she's running for governor. She's going to be on the show tonight in roughly a half hour, maybe 40 minutes, around 7:50. She's going to be popping on with Stu Moats, the lieutenant governor. So if they win, boom. And so if we have Ken, are you out there tonight? If we have our chat room open, we really would like for you to take advantage of the chat room. Ask questions and stuff like that. That's what this is all about. So it'd be interesting. They're good. They're a good candidate. Strong conservatives. They stand with everything that I stand for: abolishing property taxes. They want to get rid of data centers, lower the taxes. So they've got a lot of really good points, and we'll have to talk to them about that. See what they got. All right. I also want to, before they come on, we got some things to talk about. First item up on the agenda is the Save America Act. This is crucially important.
And you also said you are right now examining this talking filibuster?
Yes, we're looking at it. We've gone through it as a conference. And now that we have Susan on board, I think we're going to be laser focused on this and any other method that we can utilize to get this onto the floor, because this is obviously something the American people want.
Okay, it's something the American people want, and we got to have. It's a SAVE Act. Now, let me explain to you guys and ask questions if you need to for clarification. But this is how it goes, all right? We have 50 votes in the Senate right now because Susan Collins has agreed. A little bit of arm twisting, but she's finally agreed that she's going to vote for it. So we've got 50 Republicans on board out of the 53. McConnell said no. Did you guys know that McConnell was still alive? I didn't. But McConnell somehow or another said no. And Lisa Murkowski out of Alaska, she said no. But we still got 50 Republicans jumping on board. J.D. Vance will be number 51 to pass it. Now, when they take it to the floor for a vote, the Democrats are going to say, we're going to filibuster. And the filibuster, there's two types of filibusters. I don't want to get real confusing here, but one is called the speaking filibuster and one is the silent filibuster. They got the votes. They're going to say we're not going to do the silent filibuster, which makes no sense. You literally don't have to say anything through the filibuster. So they're going to nuke that. So now you're going to have to talk. And the Democrats, 47 of them, have to go up to the podium and they can talk as long as they want to talk about why the SAVE Act is no good. The record is 25 hours, but the vast majority of them are not going to get anywhere near that long. And we have a lot of elderly senators that are going to try to get up there and talk, and they're not going to be able to talk very long. Here's some of the rules. Some of the rules is if you got to go to the John, your time is up, okay? And you have to keep talking. You can't fall asleep or anything, okay? Your time is over. You're allowed to do 2 sessions. You're allowed to speak twice, okay? Every one of them could speak twice if they want. So I don't know how long this would go on. I mean, it could go on days. It could go on weeks. The other stipulation here is that the Republicans, they got to still be there. They're not allowed to leave. They're like, we'll come back in 2 weeks. They can't do that. Because the minute you have less than those 50 senators who could vote, let's say one of them flies home, the Democrats right then and there will say, the filibuster is over. As soon as the filibuster ends, you got to vote. And if that, you have to vote in person. So if that person's not there, it's not going to pass. So they got to stick around. So, we got a lot of wimpy Congress or senators, a lot of wimpy congressmen and senators. That's the only problem we're facing right now is, do they want to stick around and succumb themselves to that, or are they going to wimp out? That's the only issue I see with it. But they've got to do it for the sake of America. And real quick, the SAVE Act, what it entitles is, number one, you have to show proof of a U.S. citizen. Okay, you have to show proof that you were born here or whatever, but you have to show proof that you're a U.S. citizen, which means Social Security card. And if you don't have a Social Security card, that means go get one. All right, and not $20 or something like that. Now, I'm not sure, but I think we might all have to re-register, because you've got to prove that you're a U.S. citizen at the time of registration. So you may all have to go and re-register. And then when you go to vote, you show your driver's license and you vote. And that's what the SAVE Act is all about. So what do you think? Do you think
I think it's absolutely, I've always thought that was a problem. I remember asking the Lake County Board of Elections, Dante Lewis, I said, well, when you're registering someone to vote, do they have to show proof of citizenship? And he said, no. And I said, well, that's a problem as far as I'm concerned. So I certainly would be in favor of making sure that that's mandatory. I don't understand. Well, I do understand the Democrats' point. They probably would, I think it's the Babylon Bee said, the Democrats would allow a death certificate to be used.
They get a lot of votes. Yeah, they won every state in this last election. Kamala Harris won every state where voter ID was not needed. There were 13 states where you didn't have to use voter ID of any type. Kamala Harris won all those states.
Well, that gives you an indication of they like voter fraud.
Yeah, they love voter fraud. They love voter fraud. And that's not just us talking here. Now, here's something else that came up.
74,243 mail-in ballots where there is no clear record of them being sent. And just to be clear, here in the state of Arizona, there's EV32s and EV32s more sent out than there are that are received. Specifically with these, we can tie them to a specific individual that was mailed to. And so we have 74,000 where we have them came back from individuals where we don't have a clear indication that they were ever sent out to them.
All right, so that was from Maricopa County in Arizona in 2020. And there were 74,000 ballots that came back that were never mailed out. Never mailed out. They can prove it. And they came back. So that's corruption right there. Then, from 2020, they had 73,000. Get a load of this. They had 73,000 in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan area. 73,000 in Michigan that were dead. All of them were in the obituary. All of them had been researched, and they've got that now. 73,000 dead people voted in Michigan. And they all voted for Joe Biden.
Right. I mean, so the evidence is everywhere. You've got places like Pennsylvania where they found, what was it? I don't remember the numbers, but more mail-in ballots came back than were mailed out. So they mailed out like 13 million and got back 19 million or whatever the heck the numbers are. I mean, it's all over the place. And you look at Fulton County, Georgia, and what happened there. The evidence is all over. We only have one recent really good example of these types of maladministration and allegations of fraud actually getting accepted into a court. Pretty universally across the board, courts said that the people filing the claims lacked standing, which is just a cop-out to block it from getting into the courts. But in Bridgeport, Connecticut, we had a case in 2023 where 2 Democrats squared off, and the fraud, both of them ramped up the fraud and dumping in, or allegedly dumping in all kinds of extra ballots and everything. It got to the point where a judge stepped in and said, this is just unknowable. The evidence is so outrageous that there's no chance of knowing, and called for a redo of the election.
The parental bill of rights.
So they're catching a little bit of background audio there, but ultimately, here's where I stand on the thing. We're not going to get the fixes that we want in our election systems in Ohio or otherwise until we get better people in office. And that goes back to the call out for more of us getting involved at the local level. We need more, we the people, conservative, America First Republicans, to get involved in the Republican Party and push for true conservative agenda, because so many of the uniparty, swamp, whatever you want to call them, are happy to roll over on this thing. We have 1.3 million bad or questionable entries in Ohio's voter rolls. We just don't have anybody with the political wherewithal, with the spine to step up and really truly fight and advocate and ask the questions. Or if we do, they're outnumbered constantly by the bad guys. So that's the call out. We need more of you, our listening audience, to go out there and get involved. Find OhioPrecinctStrategy.org and get involved where you live. Every little bit counts. When we get enough people and have the votes, we can make things happen, like fixing our election systems.
I want to get into some Ohio news here for a few minutes. There was an interesting story that came up, and again, we're going to have Heather Hill on and Stuart Motes coming up at 7:50, so maybe in a half hour or so. So, stay with us here, and if you want to chat, and we should have the chat. I believe we have the chat room open, so please chat. Okay, so you guys realize that. One of the jobs of congressmen and our senators is to try to extract some money from the federal government for projects going on here in Ohio. And they extracted money for about 200 different projects between the 15 congressmen and the 2 senators. The scope ranges from $30 million for a new human performance laboratory, Dayton Wright Patterson Air Force Base, $30 million for that, and $200,000 radio station upgrade for a police department. Anyhow, I thought this would be kind of fun to look at what some of the people actually were able to extract from the federal government. So John Husted and Bernie Moreno, the 2 senators combined, were able to bring back to Ohio $157 million. Now, as we look at the congressmen, I got the list here, but I want to just throw this out to you guys for a minute, just to get your take on some of this. Who do you think? We have 15 congressmen. Who do you think was able, of those 15, to bring back the most money? You want to take a guess? And I guarantee you're going to be wrong. Yeah. Maybe. All right, what do you think, Brian?
Well, I'll go with Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan. And Jonathan, any idea?
I think I'll guess Jim Jordan as well.
Yeah, well, this guy is in your neck of the woods. Dave Joyce. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I comment on Dave Joyce regularly.
$66 million he was able to bring back. I know we've commented on him a lot, but that's a lot of money to bring back to your district. And he was number 1 on the list. That's pretty amazing. All right.
Well, he was number 3 on another list.
Well, you could
recently
be a number 3 or number 5 on a lot of different types of lists. But I'm just looking at this for right now, okay?
Okay.
And then I wanted to, what do you think Jim Jordan, since you brought up Jim Jordan, where do you think he is on the list? You got 1 to 15. Do you think he didn't bring in the most, so he can't be number 1. But so 2 through 15, where do you think Jim Jordan fits in? The amount of money he brought back to his district.
Well, I'm going to guess that he's ruffling feathers. So if Dave Joyce, who's the exact opposite of ruffling feathers and asking questions and kind of stirring up the hornet's nest, so maybe he's 15. So maybe Jim Jordan doesn't get to bring back some of that awful federal money that, remember, always has strings attached to it, because he's the one in there dusting things up and kind of pounding on the table. So maybe he's 15.
Okay, what do you think, Brian?
I'd go with 10, but I tend to agree with Jonathan. If he is shaking things up at the federal level, they're probably saying, well, you're not going to benefit from that. So telling the truth does not bring the money in.
Oh, yeah, not popular in D.C.
Okay, well, you know what? He ranks dead last. He is and you know how much money he brought into his district? Big fat goose egg, nothing. Now, I don't think
But maybe
because,
his district is freer because of it.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I mean, that is part of the job, though, of a congressman to be bringing in money. He was just saying that he's too busy with the oversight committees to be yakking to try to get money. But anyhow, I really thought that was eye-opening.
What has he done then? Really? He's part of the oversight committee. We keep saying Jim Jordan this, Jim Jordan that.
Jim Jordan, he's always issuing those strongly worded memos. That's what he's doing out there.
Well, now I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to keep asking it today. State of Ohio, what are we first in?
Nothing.
What are we in the top
Taxes.
3 in the country?
Taxes.
Anything?
Taxes.
Yeah.
Drugs, human trafficking, the taxing authorities. Yeah, we have fallen far. But I agree with you. Part of the reason that we bring it up, lest it sit out there and people think that we're simply complaining, we're bringing it up so that we can chart a course to better. Ohio can and should be a lot better than it is. We have such great resources, and we have an amazing past that oftentimes just stays buried. The history in Ohio is rich with all kinds of great history of business enterprise. We could bring that back, but it's going to take some steps in order to do it. And one of the first steps is acknowledging the problems that we currently have.
Yeah, I would agree, Jonathan. But they're going to continue to make the same mistakes of the data centers, for example. They're going to throw the citizens under the bus, with giving away the water. We're going to electricity demands, for these data centers, and the citizens are going to pay that heavy price. I was down
Brian,
in.
that's not
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go
I was
ahead.
saying that's not a mistake. That's a plan. Then the plan comes from really bad actors. The bad actors are there because we let them there, and we let them stay there through lethargy and inaction on our part. When we, the people, get involved in politics again, we can assert ourselves. We can get rid of the bad actors that are corrupt, that are profiteering off of their office. All those people that become mysteriously wealthy, and it's on both sides of the aisle. All the people that are receiving horrible, I won't call it blood money, but they're receiving campaign funding from really, really awful sources that is damaging and harmful to Ohio. The people who've sold us out, we don't currently have a good mechanism in place to get rid of them. That's unfortunate. We have an Ohio Republican Party that routinely turns a blind eye on the waste, fraud, and abuse. But it doesn't have to be that way. At the other side of the aisle,
100%,
I think
I agree 100%
they embrace
with that.
it.
Yeah, I agree. And what we're doing with our property tax initiative, we're going to be calling out all the legislators and the senators. Next week, I will produce basically a page with all of the representatives and senators that those that have signed the petition, those that have absolutely said they won't sign the petition, and there will be a lot of non-committals. And I think those that won't commit to defend freedom and liberty, for their constituents, they've got to be called out, and we're going to do it.
You got it. Got to follow through on that.
Call them out, but I would take it a step further. I think that the reason that these people stay in office and the reason that they have no fear, what they want, the objective, because they've chosen a career path of being a career politician, is to get reelected. You've said it many, many times. You've said it very well, Brian, that their job is to try to get themselves reelected. They know they can do that pretty much no matter what. They can lie to us, they can abuse us, they can cheat, they can rob us blind and get reelected because they know they can get endorsements easily from corrupt Republican Party. We fix corrupt
100%,
Republican Party by getting rid of the corruption within the Republican Party. And one of the easiest ways of doing that is make sure that the Republican Party isn't at half strength, for heaven's sakes. The Ohio Republican Party is at half strength, approximately. About half of the state has nobody that bothered to run in local jurisdictions. Fill those with America First people, and you're going to find lots more people like me who go into meetings, drill down, pull out the financials, ask questions, and push back and challenge people on those endorsements. The Republican Party, the establishment, they hate that. What they want is a Republican Party that is feckless, never meets, doesn't do anything publicly, and just simply rubber stamps spending and then hands out endorsements to all the bad guys all the time. We can fix that, but it's going to take some work and effort to do it. That brings us back to precinct strategy. If we do it, we can reclaim Ohio. If we don't, I really, truly fear that we're just simply going to end up with years of complaining and years of sliding further down the drain.
I want to comment on some of those chats. Put some of those chats back up, will you, Kent? Let's just, I want to see what they had to say. Put that back up. Now, somebody was saying, hey, what kind of projects did Dave Joyce do? Well, I got the list right here, if you want to see it. So, there he is, $66 million. And he dredged Fairport Harbor. That cost $33 million.
Wow.
Why did dredging cost $34 million?
Now, maybe that's why he's got such a high total, because I'm sure that's just one big item right there, $33 million, and that's half of what he brought in. But that's some of the other stuff he brought in. Youngstown Warren Regional Airport runway had to be rehabilitated. Let's see, in Cortland, a safety service complex, $4.5 million for that. Holy moly. Lake County. Now, this is money, listen, this is money that is not being paid out by the taxpayer. This is money that was extracted from the federal government. So this is money that came back. Freebie money that came back. So those are some of the things that he did. Concord Township, fire station construction, $3.5 million. 3.75
We've got some of the nicest fire stations in Ohio here in Concord. We really do.
Yeah, that's your area. So you guys just got $3.7 million for a new fire station construction. Woo-hoo-hoo!
Well, wait a minute. We just voted property taxes for a fire station. So we needed $3.7 million more. Wow.
Yeah, you need a $3.7 million.
Yeah. So all those, didn't you know, all those projects have to run at about 8,000%. So if you need a new fire station, of course, it's got to cost $1 billion. Need a new school? $1 billion. New roadway?
Everything is
$1 billion.
crazy expensive on that.
It's
crazy expensive. So that's where
we know why.
But I do want to just say one thing. That is money that came back. So you got $3.7 million to help fund your Concord fire
Yes,
station.
but the federal government is what, 37 trillion, is it, Jonathan?
Yeah, they're 37, 38 trillion.
They don't have the money.
They don't have the money, but they're giving it back to you anyhow, okay? So it's debt. That's debt that they're giving you. The whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. The other thing that doesn't make sense is we always say that the state has to balance its budget. The state has to balance its budget. Well, two things. Our budget keeps growing astronomically year after year. And the second thing is we're getting almost half our budget from the federal government, who doesn't balance their budget. So I don't know how that just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Well, the state balances their budget on the backs of the local governments because they keep cutting the revenue distribution through the local government funds. So that requires the local governments to keep adding either income tax or property taxes to fund the local services. Where, you know, in case in point, I've got these numbers in my head, and that was the marijuana tax. Over $3 billion came in, but the state only gave 36% of that revenue back to the counties. They kept 64% of it, and that's one of the basic problems. They enact a tax They take it from all of the counties, and they keep the majority. Rather than keeping 10% for state and giving 90% back to the local, no, it's the other way around.
There's something we did see someone who is running in District 14. And by the way, is District 14, that's not Dave Joyce district, is it? Does anybody know?
There's Nikki Frenchco.
Nikki Frenchco. Hey, put that one back up if you can find it.
Yeah, she's in the chat. We've got two people running against Joyce.
Okay, Nikki
it's a
Frenchco.
contested primary.
I love guns. Docile Dave loves gun control. Nikki Frenchco for Congress. Okay, so she
it's Ohio
is
14th.
She is running there in 14th rating. F rating for Joyce by Heritage and all the conservative organizations. Nikki Frenchco for Congress. We got to get Nikki. You can come on the show anytime. We would love to talk to you. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, Nikki Frenchco. Step number 1: move back to Ohio. Joyce is being endorsed due to his position on data centers. The chamber owns them. Yeah, now it's interesting. We can talk about that for a minute if you want. Data centers here, we know that they use up a lot of electricity. They use up a lot of water. They pollute the water. They put it back in the streams and stuff. But they don't employ very many people. Like this, a typical data center might have 75 people that it employs. That's nothing.
At most. I've heard 30 to 50. But
you're
yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Some are 30, some are 50. So the big ones have 75 employees. They use, let's see, they don't pay any property taxes, which is a big problem. They should be paying property taxes, these multi-billion-dollar industries. I mean, you've got Google, you got X, you've got Amazon, you Microsoft. These are the companies that own these data centers. They're almost trillion-dollar companies these days. Apple, you name it. Okay, so they're investing and owning these data centers. Now, the sales tax, just so we understand, any materials, labor, anything that they buy is sales tax exempt. So none of that sales tax goes back to the community. They don't have to pay any property taxes. They use our water. They use our electricity. They throw that polluted water back into our environment. Yeah, and they only employ 75 people at best. Some of them are employing 30 people. So we have a lot of problems with data centers.
The other thing they do, Joe, though, is they jack up the prices of the land. So now we bring a data center in, they're overpaying for the land, which with our property valuation system, that causes problems throughout the state. All the farmers are selling their land, and pretty soon we'll just be data centers and no farms.
Yeah,
right,
and the thing that they're saying, too, with the data centers is you're going to give us these freebies or we are going to go somewhere else. We're going to go to a different state if you don't, tickle our ears. The Ohio Chamber of Commerce found that Ohio could stand to lose a half a $500 million in tax revenue if these data facilities go to other states. They're saying Ohio could lose a $500 million. And I'd like to see how they're coming up with all of this. Because to me, it's just mumbo-jumbo numbers on a piece of paper. It doesn't make any sense. How are we losing a $500 million in revenue and everything when we're not getting anything out of these massive data centers? And I got news for you. Other states aren't either. Like they're going to be putting the largest one in Louisiana. It's going to be a multi-billion-dollar facility. It's going to be the biggest one ever. Next year, putting it in Louisiana, but I'm sure they're getting free property tax, no property taxes, sales tax, the whole works. So what are the states, not only Ohio, what are the states gaining from all this? It doesn't make any sense.
Joe, there's a question, did Brian meet with Vivek Ramaswamy yet on the property taxes? I can answer we have not, but stay tuned. It's going to happen.
Okay. And that is not going to be a Kodak moment, what you're saying is. We're not going to have the cameras there. We're not going to live stream it. It's just going to be you and Vivek.
But I've heard some rumors that, Brian's he's going to negotiate a deal with Ramaswamy. Nothing could be further from the truth. We meet with Ramaswamy. That's not changing our position. We are going to get this on the ballot. People deserve the right to vote on whether or not to save freedom and liberty for this and future generations. So if anybody's telling you, Massey's going to negotiate with Vivek Ramaswamy or anyone else to stop collecting these signatures. That's just not true.
I have nothing against data centers coming to this country. Oh, by the way, keep us informed on that when you go to talk to Vivek, because that is huge news. That is huge. And ask him if he'd be willing to come on the show. You got to get him on.
All right, we'll certainly do that.
Sometime down the road. All right, the data centers, if they are, yeah, go ahead, Kent. What's up?
No, I just wanted to, finish your thought. I just wanted to chime in on a
Chime in. Go ahead, chime in.
Before Heather comes on, because I see her in the chat and I think they're ready whenever we can get them on. But I just want to say to everybody to make sure to always get on and subscribe to any platform you're on. We're on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, X. Make sure to subscribe to whatever platform you're on. Also on Facebook, if you can go into the chat down in the bottom and click on the star, you can actually support us with stars. We would appreciate that. If you can go over to Rumble, and I know there's a couple people over in Rumble that we appreciate. Ruth over in Rumble for actually supporting us as a subscriber for 6 months. We really appreciate that. And if you can join in locals or go into the down at the bottom of the chat and click the $ for a Rumble rant or a gift. We appreciate that. You can also go to our website, ohiopoliticalnews.com, and you can also support us there, and also go to ohiopoliticalnews.com/shop, and you can get the mugs and any t-shirts that we have there. Support us with the property taxes or any other merch that we have. We really appreciate it. And it does cost money to do this. We will be trying to live stream. I know Joe's going to plan on going down to a meeting next Friday, a big meeting, and he probably wants to talk about that. I know Brian's going to be going to places, so it does cost money to get to the place to actually do the actual live streaming. So please support us. We really appreciate that. Thank you. And I'll get out of the way.
Okay, two things real quick. One is Friday, I will be live streaming the State Central Committee meeting, which is going to do endorsements. So we'll be live streaming that. I'll take the equipment and live stream it. And the second thing is the 25th, I'll be live streaming an event at the Cuyahoga Valley Republicans. And that's going to be a real good one. Robert Sprague and Marcel Stribich will be speaking, as well as Jay Edwards and Christina Rogner. They will also be speaking. Hope this isn't a repeat question, but thoughts on the Ohio Republican Central Committee's endorsement for Secretary of State. Marcel posted about it on Facebook today. He's concerned. Well, I'll just be real. I guess I can't be too blunt about anything, but I will say this: if there are two candidates that have a chance of winning, and I think Marcel Stribich definitely shows that he is a strong candidate, I don't see the committee endorsing. I really don't. On the Secretary of State. Now, it could be different when we get to Treasurer, where we have Christina Rogner and Jay Edwards. That might be different, but we'll see. But the way the whole thing works, just so people understand, and tune in Friday if you can in the morning. How do we advocate for Marcel to be endorsed? The best way to advocate for Marcel, the absolute best way, is you got to call State Central Committee people. And you get that list from Marcel. Marcel should be posting it on his website, things like that. But the actual people that make up the 66 members, give them a call. That is by far and away the most effective. You can send emails are pretty effective. You can send a letter. All that stuff is pretty effective. But primarily, if you can call and talk to them, that's head and shoulders above anything else you can do. Head and shoulders above anything else you can do. So that is, I know it takes a little bit more effort, but these are just ordinary people. These ordinary people, these 66, give them a call, talk to them. They're just like you and I. They're no different. And they want to hear from you. Now, some of them probably have their minds made up, and whether they're a Marcel Stribich fan or Robert Sprague ahead of time. But I'm guarantee you that a lot do not. Okay, I'll guarantee you that a lot do not.
Well, Joe, just to chime in really quick, I'm not even sure that is relevant. I mean, just like voters, many voters have their minds made up on one candidate or another, but in their capacity as a state central committee rep, I don't believe that it's appropriate for them to put their thumb on the scale and endorse somebody in a contested race. Especially, let's talk about the one that everybody's talking about right now, and that is the Secretary of State race. We have a close race, and actually in recent polls that have been published by Marcel Stribich shows that he's up by 8 points. I would suggest that we should all review it as an outrage if our state central committee representatives put their thumb on the scale and advocate for either one, regardless their personal positions. Of course, they're individuals as well. That many of them may have a position on a candidate, but that should not lead them to try to influence Ohio politics. Let Ohio voters, let we the people make the decisions about important things like Secretary of State.
And I think, well, again, where I said in that case, I have an idea that they are not going to endorse, but we'll have to find out. Is the Central Committee organized by county? The State Central Committee is organized by state Senate districts. So you have 33 state Senate districts in Ohio. That's how they're organized. And you have a man and a woman from each district. So you have 33 women, 33 men. So that's where you get the 66 at. And, if you call them, text them, whatever. I think that's the best way to do it. A text is pretty good, too. Let me see what this says. Let's hope property taxes are not eliminated or every township will be forced to fire their zoning inspector and end all zoning enforcement. State will then take over local zoning and create a county-wide or a statewide zoning plan. Well, we don't have time to get into the property tax thing. Maybe we will while we're talking to Heather Hill and Stuart Moats. So, and by the way, Stuart and Heather, call in. It's about it's almost 7:50. You can call in now if you like. Let's connect now, sooner the better, and we'll start talking about your candidacy and everything. But politics, it's amazing. Politics is amazing stuff. So, and I know, Jonathan, what you're saying is the sentiment of a lot of people. But remember, you're talking 66 people, and those 66 people may not be of the same mindset as you. A lot of them. So that's just the way it is. Hey, I'm the campaign Christian advisor for the Hill Moats campaign. Very good. I'm glad you keep chiming in. We want to hear from you. All right. I want to bring Stu on. I think I've got Stu. Hey, Stu, are you out there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yeah. Don't see you yet, but I hear you.
We'll have to work on the video part of this.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. And then you just turn your camera, maybe, unless you are, unless you are like that. There you go. That's better. But I thought I was, having a vertigo or something. Way to go! Way to go, man. Good to see
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, we're trying to turn the political field upside down. So that's there you go.
There you go. You're doing it.
Welcome back on, Stuart.
Yeah, it's good
Thanks,
to see you.
guys.
And I guess we're going to be having Heather on here probably very soon, I would think.
Hello, I'm on here.
I hear you. I don't see you either, though.
Yeah, you don't
Right.
see me because I'm having some Wi-Fi issues, like always.
Oh,
Oh, no.
oh, okay.
The great thing about living in the Appalachian Hills of Morgan County.
Yeah, you're out in McConnellsville, right?
I'm in Malta, actually. I live in the middle of a 100-acre farm, a mile and a half down a gravel road.
Well, that sounds like a good trade-off. We're bummed we don't get to see you for this, but boy, that sounds like a nice description. Out in the middle of the country.
Yeah, that is good.
Yep, it's beautiful out here. We love it, but not having running city water and not having broadband makes things very difficult.
1 second, I just want to. Okay. So we won't have Heather on video, but we do have her connected audio wise. We do have Stu. Stu is with us. Stuart Moats, the Lieutenant Governor. All right, very good. Well, guys, hey, I got a question. Yeah, Starlink. Maybe Starlink will work for you. Hey, I got a question for you guys. In a real quick question, you don't have to elaborate long. I was just trying to figure out how the heck you guys connected. Because Stu, you are you in Dayton?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep, Dayton.
Okay, you're in Dayton, and Heather, you're out. You're close to McConnellsville, I think.
Yes.
I know where McConnellsville is. I passed through there. But it's kind of strange because when you go to McConnellsville, there's like nothing for 15, 20 miles. I mean, you're just looking to see if there's a house anywhere, and then all of a sudden, like the city pops up, it's like 5,000 people or something, and it's just I always thought like, how the heck did that happen? You know. But anyhow, how did you and Stu connect? Let's hear that real quick.
Well, I saw that Stu was running for governor. So I started watching him very closely, and he was the real deal, a real Christian conservative, and I was liking everything that he had to say, so I reached out to him. I had interviewed close to 10 or 11 people for my LG position, and I asked him if he would be interested in meeting with me. He said yes, and we just hit it off.
Wow.
One thing that I told him, I said, if you do not work with me, that we will become friends, because we had so much in common. His faith, the kind of man that he is, the kind of person that loves his family, his community. He just had so much to offer. And he had decided at one point to drop out of the race. And I was like, please don't drop out of the race. This was before I offered him a position as my LG. I said, please don't drop out of the race. I said, because I would rather run against you knowing you're a Christian conservative than anyone else.
Okay, let me bring Stu on for 1 second here. Stu, you're going to have to turn your camera again. Stu, I did not realize that you were running for governor. So you threw your name in the hat for this governorship a while back then, it sounds like, huh?
Yes, I did. People asked me why I started the tree service, and I said because I had no common sense. So it was kind of the same thing with the governor.
You really went out on a limb with that business, I bet, right?
There's a couple tree services called Out on a Limb. So.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, so you actually, that's interesting. I was not aware of that. So you had actually decided to run for governor, and then Heather said, hey, be my lieutenant governor, because you were thinking of dropping out. Real quick. Why were you intrigued to jump in governorship this time around?
So the only time I've been really irritated with politics was when Governor DeWine, when he vetoed the bill that the state legislature passed that would have gotten the biological men out of women's sports. So that's what really kind of woke me up. I'm like, man, I was like, we're supposed to be conservative, the conservative side of the party, and why in the world would Governor DeWine, who was a rhino through and through, why would he veto that bill? So it kind of woke me up a little bit. But then when it came down to who they're talking about, who was going to be the kind of the shoe-in or the only option for the conservative base, was a non-Christian billionaire, again, as our only option. That's so far from my core beliefs and just the average Ohioan. I'm like, there's got to be another option. There's got to be a better option, someone who can relate to them. So that's kind of what pushed me into, because I'm like, because in the military service, there's a saying, it says, if not me, then who? So that's really where it came down to. It's like, well, I'm looking around the room and it's like, well, if not me, then who? And then see if this is a God thing or not.
Gotcha. All right. Heather, I want to ask you the same question because I think a lot of people would like to hear the answer to that. So why are you throwing your name in the hat to be the next governor?
Well, I'm not your typical candidate. I'm a wife, a military mom, a foster parent, and an entrepreneur. But more importantly, I'm someone who shares the values, the struggles, and the dreams of Ohioans. But when I was originally asked to run for governor, it was right after my first foster son was shot and killed by law enforcement, Donovan Lewis. And at that time, I was just like, no, I've never thought about running for governor. This is not something that I have any desire to do at all. But my friends and family that were in law enforcement were like, you know what, we really need someone to speak out on our behalf. And you being an African-American foster mother and a mother of a child that's been shot, you know who we really are. You know how we've worked with you over the years. And we really want you to do this. Well, it was just over the next year, it was just so many things of God telling me that this is what he wanted me to do. This is what he wanted me to do. Then almost exactly a year later, Takaya, my foster daughter, was shot and killed by law enforcement. And at that time, my husband and I prayed, and we had continued to pray about it for the last year. But at that time, I said, okay, God, I hear you. I'm going to do this. I don't need for you to to remind me anymore of what you want me to do. I hear you, and I'm going to do this 100%. And we jumped in, and here we are.
Wow. Okay. So a God calling in some respects.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you can see us or not, but I have your Fight Like Hill website up here.
Yes.
And let's go through some of the items that you have here, okay? Abolish property taxes is on there. I'm sure Brian's a big fan of yours right now. Education, revitalizing Ohio industry and manufacturing. Elected officials should relate to constituents. Hey, and then no data centers. So let me say, pick any of those that you want to extrapolate out on, okay?
Well, we want it number one to be, the property tax issue, because we both understand what it's like to fight with the property taxes. As regular, everyday Ohio citizens, we understand exactly what it's like. So when we say that we're bringing representation for the first time to the governor's office, this is what we mean. When we elect people that truly understand what it's like to fight, to struggle, to work hard every day, then things will truly change. And I listened to a little bit of your podcast before it was time for Stu and I to get on. And I agree 100%. When we bring people into office and we change who our politicians are, that is when things are truly going to change.
Are you still there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay.
I hope that answered your question as far as the first issue that we have on the website.
No, you did. You did. So you have a big passion for the property taxes, and I know you do because you were out there when we were at the Thirsty Cowboy. You and Stu came out, and we did one of our property tax events out there, and I know, yeah, you are 100% on board with that. Let me go around the table. You guys ask a few questions here. Go ahead, Brian.
Hello, Heather.
Can I add
and
one
Stu.
more thing to that, if I could, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure.
My campaign has been going on for 2 years. I was the first and only candidate to stand up with you guys, protest with you all, fight alongside of you all for all of this time before it was popular, before abolishing property taxes was a popular issue for politicians to jump on board with. So I just want to make sure that I remind everyone of that. And I'm sorry,
you've been
Brian.
doing it.
Go
Okay.
ahead, please.
No, that's
Yeah,
that's a good point
con-
to remind us all. And it's Heather Hill, who's running for governor, although we can't see her. And Stu Moats is with us, Stuart Moats, who is running for lieutenant governor. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I agree. Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for joining us. I remember interviewing Heather when we had our first rally. It's been, quite some time, maybe a year or two ago. But she is 100% correct that Heather has been on the abolish property tax movement from the very beginning, and we appreciate that tremendously. What kind of reaction or feedback are you getting from the citizens in the state? I know you've been traveling, you and Stu have been traveling the state. What kind of feedback are you getting from the citizens?
Feedback in regards to the property tax?
In regards to the state of Ohio, to me, is not first in anything. And I've been saying for quite some time, we need new leadership. We need something different in the state of Ohio that takes us in a different direction than our current leadership, be they Democrats or Republicans or Libertarians. We need something different in the state because we're not making any progress in the state. So I'm just wondering, is that feedback coming back to what are the citizens saying to you? What do they want you to do for them, I guess, for the state, not only for this generation, but for future generations?
Well, one thing that I'm seeing when I'm out there, and I'll let Stu speak also to that, but what I'm seeing is I am seeing people that are very, very, very excited. They are excited that I am the first person of color to run for woman of color to run for governor in Ohio. They're excited to finally have the first elected female governor in Ohio. They're excited to have a person that understands and relates to them. They're excited to have a person that's not a billionaire that's going to be their governor. So, people have asked me over and over, especially people from the administration of the Republican Party, why are you staying in this? I am staying in this because I see the voters of Ohio supporting me. And the voters of Ohio are who are going to ultimately make the decision of who our next voter is. But we have been so brainwashed because the establishment has chosen our choices. If they're the ones that select our choice, our politicians, we don't have a choice. If they control all the options, we don't have a choice. And that is what people are finally understanding. And they're gravitating towards Stu and I because they're like, you're regular people. You are regular people. You're not politicians. And you are going to do what's best for us. The fact that we do not have all of these donations from big companies and big billionaires all over the state is helping us out tremendously because people understand that those endorsements and those donations come with control. They come with the ability for those donors and those businesses to say, I don't want you to do this. I do want you to do this. With us, we are coming in here with a pure heart. We're coming in here completely able and ready to represent Ohioans.
Okay,
Stu, I'll let you.
Yeah, Stu, go ahead and jump in.
So I asked people, I was like, hey, do you trust the government? And the answer is usually universally no. And it's like, do you feel you have transparency, fiscal transparency? Do you feel the government is spending our tax dollars wisely? And they're like, no. When we go back to even DeWine's talking, he's using the scare tactic with the property taxes, saying that there's going to be 18 to 20% sales tax hike. And I think you pointed out several times, Mr. Miller, is that he's using this because all of his donors and the campaign contributors, they're the ones who are actually pulling the strings, and Governor DeWine's just a puppet. People, they want someone that they can relate to, an average person. I know Jonathan, he talks about it. It's like, hey, let's have leadership that is by the people, for the people. Well, if our only options are not really by the people, I mean, think about that. It's like there's 11 billionaires in the state of Ohio. And if that is who you're putting your trust in, to think that a billionaire in the top, whatever, minuscule percentage, that he is going to lead and he even understands the problems that you and I have. I mean, he's not for abolishing property taxes. Why? Because he's probably never had to worry about it. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to pay property taxes. Can we stay in our house? Can my family members stay in the house? Can my neighbor afford it?
No, I hear you. I hear you. Can I ask you a question? It kind of came up in the chat, and it's a pretty good question. It's right along the same lines. Do you guys have any idea how you would replace the property taxes? I know we talk about it all the time on this show, but I just wanted to hear your perspective on it, if you could.
Yes, we do. We have a million ideas, because it is really going to be easier than people think. We are being threatened. We're being manipulated by thinking that, oh, we're going to have these astronomical sales tax and we're going to have to do this. It is really more simple than you could ever imagine. It's just simply cutting out wasteful spending. And Stu has done a ton of research on this, so I'm going to let him answer more of this question.
I mean, you think about, I know Commissioner No, he's like, hey, cut spending. I know Brian and Leonard, they've done a lot of work in this as well. Something that's near and dear to my heart is workers' comp. So I get extorted as a small business owner every year for some exorbitant amount of workers' comp. Do you know that the state of Ohio is only one of 4 states out of the 50 that has a monopoly on workers' comp? There's no competition. They set the rates. They collect all the money. They have $21 billion worth of assets in the coffers at workers' comp. And they only pay out just over $1 billion a year traditionally in claims. Why in the world do we have $21 billion sitting there? So let's get to, heck, even the first year, people were nervous, like, hey, let's cash out half of that workers' comp. There's 10 billion of the 20 to 21 billion that you're going to lose in property tax revenue alone. So that's a huge buffer on year one. And then from there, the other thing too, even with workers' comp. So get this, there's 1,600 employees that administer workers' comp. They pay $170 million a year in something called managed care organizations. So the 1,600 employees don't even manage the claims. What in the world are 1,600 employees doing when you're outsourcing the actual care and feeding, the actual claims? $170 million worth. So if anyone thinks that there's not a lot of pockets being lined and a lot of lobbyists in that arena, then
there's tons of lobbyists, and you better believe it. There's tons of lobbyists and all that kind of stuff. You have absolutely got to.
That's fascinating, Joe. I had never heard that before. Thanks, Stu, for bringing that to our attention. We're going to take a look at that. But that's just another indication of waste, fraud, and abuse. Again, it's not a revenue generation problem; it's a spending problem in the state.
100%.
And if you guys look at the budget too, like Stu and Heather, that budget continues to go up.
Yes, it does.
We've exceeded $100 billion now in the state of Ohio, and every year it's going up $1 billion or $2 billion or $3 billion. $3 billion. It's got to stop. So,
it's
they
as simple
balance
as
the budget, but all they do is keep increasing and grabbing more tax revenue and everything to balance the budget. Go ahead.
Correct. So you're talking about 2020. The budget was less than $75 million. That's 25 million less than what it is right now.
Right.
Property taxes, again, it's generating about $20 billion. So if we cut spending, we're not talking about going back to the 1900s. We're talking about just going back a few years.
Yeah.
And why can't we implement a budget there? I'm telling you, there's so much dodging that can happen. There's so many efficiencies. Just that workers' comp example, you talk about the Somalia daycare. You cannot tell me that every single organization that there's not significant savings that could be found. But no, you have Governor DeWine talking about, the sky's falling and sales tax is going to 20%. Bull crap.
Yeah, it is BS. It is BS. I'm going to get Jonathan.
Yes, it is.
You've got a question, Jonathan. Go ahead.
I do. And actually, so I want to cut to a question from our comments. But before I do, I'm going to interject to Stu's comment. I'm a small business owner, and when I'm not behind this camera joining Ohio Political News, I run a company, and I just happen to, among my 5 or 6 sheets off to my left-hand side, I pulled out my extortion Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, my latest battles with them. So if you're a small business owner in Ohio, it is an epic, ongoing, constant battle with
Yes, it is.
Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. So, Stu, I'm right there with you. Cutting over to the comments, because I like to recognize the people that are taking the time to post some comments and ask questions. There was Christopher Yaker asked a question about property taxes, eliminating townships and forcing zoning inspectors to be fired and state level. I want to interject something and then flip it back to Heather and Stu. And that is the reason that Brian Massey, Leonard Gilbert, that Commissioner John Plechnik and other people are traveling the state and we're broadcasting those town halls is because there's a lot of confusion around this. And there's a lot of fear mongering. So I'm wondering if you could take, and I see Stewart, excuse me, I took some liberties there. I don't know if you go by Stu or Stewart. Stuart Moats commented, what, with a double question mark. Would you care to expand on that? You're responding, Stuart, to Christopher Yaker and a question about the elimination of property taxes, somehow eliminating townships in the state.
Yeah, I mean, planning and zoning and the services are not going to stop being performed. Those positions aren't going away. But instead of being funded off the backs of the homeowners and property taxes, it's going to be funded centrally from Ohio. So, because right now everyone's in a funnel. Everyone's in a smokestack to where your county or your city, it's being funded individually, and every ballot, you have fire, police, schools, library, all these levies, and no one knows like who's the gatekeeper, who's to say, hey, your fire department actually needs more money, or who's going to audit them and say, do they have a spending problem? Same way with the schools, so forth and so on. So eliminating property taxes is not going to eliminate those functions. One thing I'd like to eliminate, and I think, Brian, what did you say Lake County, when they do the reassessment, how much they pay a third-party consultant?
It's $1.8 million we paid for that sexennial. That's just little old Lake County. It's probably hundreds of millions of dollars.
So you think about the lobbyists against this eliminating property taxes. So Lake County alone, every 3 years for the reassessments, $1.8 million that someone's getting their darn pockets lined. Think about that across 88 counties. So how much money could we save just by not having to do the darn reassessments?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yep.
No, absolutely, yeah. We have the first thing you guys need to do is kick DeWine out of the Republican Party because he's the Democrat throwing. You know, here's the issue with DeWine. He wants to kick himself out of the Republican Party. He wants to retire. He wants to just go off into the sunset. That's what he wants to do more than anything. But there's a lot of things hanging over his head, especially with the whole Somalian and daycare center and stuff like that. So he's going to have a lot of explaining to do. From what I've heard, there's going to be some investigating into that, and he doesn't want any investigating. He just wants to wipe his hands and get out of here and just go away.
Well, to DeWine, that's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah, fraud is just
all this waste, fraud, and abuse.
All right, so George,
Right.
You're out there. I just saw you pop in. Are you with us here tonight?
Yeah, I just popped in. I was working with Kerry Coleman on his congressional campaign, so we had a 2-hour meeting.
Wow.
I hope you've been promoting his event on Saturday. I gave you a flyer yesterday at McFan.
Right.
I don't know if you showed that on the air or not.
We're talking with Heather Hill, and we're talking with Stuart Moats right now, and then after that, we'll go into greater detail with what Kerry Coleman is doing, and you can fill us in on all that, and then his big fundraiser. But I don't know if you've been listening to the show at all, but we do have Heather Hill with us. She's running for governor, and Stuart Moats is here as well to be her running mate for lieutenant governor. Is there a burning question you want to ask them?
No, I signed her petition, and then I think she had to start all over again because I think they said that she was independent the last election, not a Republican. So, Heather, did you get all your signatures in on time? And I don't know.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for signing that. We are running under the Republican primary. So we got all of our petitions signed, we got everything turned in, and we're hitting the ground running. You know, it's been an amazing journey, and thank you everyone that supported us.
Yeah,
And
how
we're
many,
gonna-
How many
how many
signatures
did you need?
Yeah.
We only needed like 1,000, but we got well over 2,000. So, you know, we wanted to make sure there was absolutely no way that they could throw those things out and say we didn't get the amount that we should have. So we've worked very hard on that, as you all are aware, and we're going to keep plugging along because the encouragement that we're getting from the voters is it just literally breaks my heart to see the things that voters are going through and the way that they're supporting us and just coming out. You know, we open our phones up. We're the only candidate for private cell phone numbers. So a lot of evenings I take calls up until midnight just to hear what.
Is that right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I give anywhere from a half hour to 45-minute slot per person. And I take notes and just find out exactly what Ohioans are facing. And the thing is, we are completely changing the way that political campaigns are done. One thing you're going to notice with Stu and I, we are leaders. We are not followers. So, you know, I was the first to announce I was running for governor. I was the first to pick my lieutenant governor. I was the first to offer my services to the property tax for Ohio. We are out here changing the way that things are done. Just like we recently made a post congratulating ourselves for being the lowest. How do I say this? For being the campaign that collected the lowest amount of donations, because we literally don't go and ask for anything unless we absolutely need it. Because all of these politicians that are collecting millions and billions of dollars for these political campaigns, we just don't see the use of all of that. We don't see a reason to go to our citizens that are already struggling and ask them to give us millions of dollars for a campaign when we literally go out here and we pay for everything ourselves. We pay for all of our traveling expenses, everything that we do, and we don't even ask for any donations unless it's things that we need, that we absolutely need a donation for. Like right now we're collecting donations for our yard signs, but we have completely changed the way that things are done when it comes to campaigning in Ohio.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. You announced first, and then there's the perennial, best known, well known, whatever. But there's two insurgent candidates he's using, yours and I think his name is Casey Putsch or Kerry Putsch or whatever his name is. My question is, if both of you are, let's say, anti-establishment, let's say even if you got 30% of the vote and Casey got 30% of the vote, Vivek could win with 40% of the vote. Is there any reason why the insurgency campaigns did not get together to pool their resources? Is your campaign that much different as an insurgency campaign than Casey's?
Well, I'm going to speak on this if it's okay, Stu, but I really believe 100% that Casey was put into this to split my votes. Okay. Because as you know, I have fought for 2 years for media access, to be invited to Lincoln Day dinners and having the ability to speak at the Republican headquarters, to be involved with the Republican Party at all. But for some reason, this Casey swoops in here last minute. He's being invited to speak at Republican events. He's all over the news media. These are things that I have been begging for 2 years. And all of a sudden, he just swoops in and he's getting all this acceptance. I believe 100% that Casey is part of the Ramaswamy campaign. Mm-hmm. And he has pushed very, very hard for me to meet with him. I've met with him once. I've spoken to him several times. But his whole objective when we meet is getting me to drop out of this campaign. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
we've interviewed him several times, and again, I've been a grassroots activist since 1967, and he says a lot of the good things, a lot of the right things, but my spidey senses are always tingling around him. He just doesn't come across as sincere. So something's amiss in my book.
yes.
I can't put my finger on it. I just don't trust the guy, to be honest.
George, you're talking about with that Monday Night Roundtable radio show. Is that where you've talked to him at on your show? Right?
We had him on our show once, and then we had him on your program once also. And then I've seen him. I think at McFan. I'm not certain where I saw him, but again, I just don't get good vibes, to be honest.
Okay, let me bring Stu in again also because. All right, Stu. So, what else can you tell us about your campaign? Hook us with something here. What is? I've got your website here, and the website has a few other items. If there's anything here you want to talk about, education. Do you want to talk about education?
I want to talk about the economy real quick there.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Mr. Ramaswamy, he talks about having the Ohio River Valley being the next Silicon Valley. So he's a big supporter of the data centers, and I'm always a little leery about a billionaire being overly supportive of something that does not seem to benefit the average Ohioan. President Trump, when he went around the world, he secured supposedly around $9 trillion worth of production and manufacturing investment to where these other countries, European Union, you're talking about Japan, they've said, hey, we're going to invest this back into the U.S. Why have I not heard DeWine or any Ohio leadership pitching a good business case to bring that manufacturing and production back to Ohio? So I don't think data centers and AI is the answer. I think, hey, we have the infrastructure. We have the waterways, railways, we have the interstates, we have the hardworking people. Let's boost Ohio's economy back up. Let's return to manufacturing production, and then all ships will rise with that tide. So you're talking about coming up with the revenue. What if we got back to actually making things and producing things? That's going to bring jobs to Ohio. It's going to bring tax revenue. If you put people to work, they're going to buy things. There's more sales tax. So I think bringing our idea for the economic boost in Ohio, do away with property taxes, you get people more disposable income, but let's bring that manufacturing production back. No data centers, that is not a net gain for Ohio. And I ask people a slight left turn, who was the governor 25 years ago, 30 years ago? The average person has no idea. You know what? Yeah. 25 years from now, no one's going to remember who won this governor race. So we know that this is not a stepping stone. All we care about is making Ohio better for our future generations, for our kids and grandkids. That is it. It's not a stepping stone. There's not mixed motives. We are average people who just have hearts for Ohio.
That's right. That is right.
One of the things about Ohio that I'm a little bit perplexed about is the fact that this should be a state that is just growing by leaps and bounds with population and everything, because we're very well situated. We've got that Great Lake above us. Mm-hmm. Of all the Midwestern states, we probably have the best climate, or at least comparable to the best climate out there. But we have a lot of flat land. I mean, there's just so much. We're so centrally located. It's like it should be a booming state, and it's not. It's a dead state. And I've said before, when your job creation is required to state workers and county workers and anybody that gets taxes, we're feeding that phony economic growth, which is what it is. It's a phony economic growth if we're creating jobs because of our tax revenue, because that's just going to hurt the whole state. Eventually, the state's going to crumble. And that seems to be DeWine's blueprint. All right? Which I can't tolerate anymore. So, if you guys get in there, we have to generate an economic boom. Do you have any thoughts on that, Heather or Stu? Do you have any thoughts on how you might do that, or what might help make that happen? If Heather is still with us. You with us, Heather?
Yes, I am with you, but you're cutting out very badly. So,
okay.
Yeah.
can you repeat that, please?
Basic question. Yeah, basic question is, we need an economic boom here in Ohio. How would you go about trying to get that going if you were governor?
Well, this is the thing. We have everything that we need here in Ohio. We have people that are willing and ready to work. We have natural resources. We have great water systems. We have our rivers. We have the Great Lakes and different things that are around us. We have all of these things that would make us a hub, but for some reason Ohio has been left out of everything. And the reason that is because we don't have politicians that are really doing what's in Ohioans' best interest. And that's going to change under our administration. We are going to, for once, put Ohioans first. Just like you talk about the data centers. Why in the world would any politician secretly sneak these data centers into people's neighborhoods that is going to just destroy the water system? It's going to make most of the people are already struggling with these astronomical utilities. Just all of the things that are being pushed on Ohioans. It just makes no sense. So when we come in, we have a whole plan. We have a system. We're going to do everything that we can to make Ohio the best it can be for everyone.
Let's go around the horn again, and
I do have a question.
Hang on 1 second. I would really like to see those in harm's way protected by property taxes elimination for them. He's talking about the Florida plan. Go ahead, Brian. I just wanted to see what he was talking about with that text.
Yeah, could you mention something about the education? I am really concerned about Ohio's education. I'm greatly concerned on whether or not it can actually be saved. But do you have any plans to improve proficiency scores in all grades, in the state of Ohio's public schools?
Absolutely. Well, as you all know, I was a school president. I've been involved in classrooms for many, many years. But there is so much waste that is going on in our school systems, not only financially, but also with the time that's being spent with the children, with the actual curriculum, educational time that's being spent with our students. A lot of that is being used to groom our students. We are having valuable class time that is being used to groom our students. And I believe that is the number one issue that we are facing in Ohio right now with our education system. Under no circumstances should anyone have to send their child to a public school and that child be taught things that are just that should never be taught to a child. We don't need the transgender ideology. We don't need I have nothing, and Stu has nothing against the LGBTQ community. We have nothing. I have foster children that are gay, lesbian, and bisexual. But there is a time and a place for that. And our school system, our public schools, are not the place for that curriculum. That is not the place. And when we cut out things like that are just wasting our class time, we will be able to make sure that our kids are able to read and write, that they have the ability to write in cursive, that they, all of these different things that children are graduating without skills. We will be able to make sure that those happen. Another thing that Stu and I greatly appreciate is Ohio's ability to pass on trades to our children. Stu is a lumberjacker. I'm an entrepreneur. My husband is a welder. So we have all of these different things that are being offered to our children, with being able to offer tech schools, vocational programs, those sort of things. I believe that that's going to be the way that we're going to offer our kids success. And Stu, can you talk a little bit more about your insight that you have received by working with people in the prison system as well, and with the school system?
Sure thing. So through our church, weekly I go into the prison system in Ohio. And a lot of these adults, I mean, they're in their 20s, and I asked them, I was like, hey, why am I talking to you in here? And I start talking to them about the public school system, about how they were left behind in second, third grade because they didn't have a God gift of memory. So what happens, because we're testing based on memory. If you have a good memory, you're going to do great math and spelling and reading, you name it. But how about those kids that they're practical problem solvers? They don't have that gift. They're struggling from second, third grade, and then onward. It doesn't get any better in fourth or fifth, and then they're looking for validation in junior high and high school, and that leads to me talking to them in prison in their 20s. So we have to be able to shift their curriculum to where we're validating those young kids that use the other side of their brain instead of just rewarding memorization. So again, I have an MBA. I'm not against education. I'm just against indoctrination. And we keep watering this plant that keeps dying. It's like it's not producing fruit. So Brian, just like you were saying, like the school system's broke. We're in violent agreement with that. So how do we fix it? And fixing the problem is not throwing more money at it. We have to get out of the box, non-career educators, non-career politicians. Throwing money at it is not the answer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, higher property taxes would not be an answer for that.
No, it would not.
Yeah, higher property taxes would not be there either.
No, it absolutely would not. So a couple of things I want to throw in here and then get some feedback from our guests today. For those of you who've been watching for a while, you know that I spent some years on the board as a chair and territory lead of Protect Ohio Children. And it is my ongoing position that the number one attack vector against America is education and children. The intention, it's been out there for years. You go back to Yuri Bremnovich and How to Defeat America Without Firing a Single Shot. The children are they're in the crosshairs. I'm sorry to say it in such blunt terms, but that's where our enemies are focused. It's on our children. Our education system is key. But we can very easily tie together two themes in this discussion today: abolishing state property taxes and what we call education in Ohio. One of the prime examples I've used recently, sorry, Brian, to pick on Lake County, but Lake County happens to be front of brain because we talked about it a few weeks ago. Lake County in the most recent budget spent over $505 million in the school districts there. That's one county in Ohio. One of those school districts in Lake County reports spending over $32,000 per pupil and then reports around 50% academic proficiency. But it's actually, unfortunately, even worse than that because Ohio has softened our academic proficiency standards, as we've documented ad nauseum on this program over the last several years. So a few things have to happen successfully if we want Ohio to be viable again. We've got to get after education. We've got to clean it up and bring back true traditional education, which is putting America's kids, Ohio children of the future, in a better position. You know the old adage, the education is the key that opens all doors. Well, Ohio appears to be trying to lock doors for future generations. At the same time, if we go after some of these state budgets and these school districts and the overfunding, I'm just going to call it what it is. It is preposterous overfunding of school districts. Don't listen to the people that tell you need to pass these levies. We are giving $35,000, $40,000 per pupil in many school districts, and now look across the nation. We're at about 30% literacy. This, I acknowledge all the other things we're talking about. They're very important. The data centers, all of these are very important issues. But frankly, if we do not solve for future generations, it will all be for naught. We're raising a generation that doesn't believe in our Constitution, that hates our history. They're racially divided. They're confused about gender identity and their sexuality. This is by design. It's pumped in, and it has everything to do with the 4 ed tech companies that are admitted into Ohio and the publishers pushing the material. So I know that's a huge ball of wax, and I see that education is on your website. I'm thankful to see that there. But I wonder if you two could speak to that, because in my book, that is number one issue.
Well, Jonathan, this is one thing that really bothers me. No other business, no other entity in the United States could consistently have a failing grade on their product, which is educating our children in this situation, on their product, and still demand more and more and more and more and more money from us. They are failing us. They are failing us. And with educational choice, it gives parents the option to leave this failing system and take their children to somewhere else to be educated. And that's why we support educational choice, because for the first time, it is going to give parents the true option, because absolutely no one cares more about a child's education than their parents. And we need to give that back to the parents. We need to have the parents have the ability to move their child where they feel like they're going to be educated the best, and those dollars should always follow that child. When we start doing that, attendants, then teachers, then the board, their boards of education, those people are going to kick into gear because their jobs are going to be on the line then. So
let me just hit you on a couple questions real quick. So, would you be in favor of like the vouchers? Are you in favor of vouchers, or as one means, or private schools, whatever, as a means of combating this?
Absolutely, we support educational choice. We support. We don't really use the term vouchers, but we support the educational choice, giving the choice back to the parents to move their children wherever they see fit to be educated, and those following those children, because those dollars are for that child. They are to educate that child. So if education is not being done correctly, then those parents need to have the option to move those children where they see fit.
Hey, another quick question, because we're almost out of time, but with the H-1B visas, I know Ramaswamy's a big fan of that. What do you guys say about that?
Of course he is. Of course he is. Because if you look at Ramaswamy, everything that he has done, and if you really listen to what he's saying, it is all to build up and advance his people. And his people are not Ohioans. They're not Americans. His people are the Hindu Indians that he was born of, his country of origin. And he is always trying to tell us kids are not smart enough. They're not intelligent enough. They can't do the engineering jobs that they need. So we need to bring in people from these other countries to do that. So I don't support that. I don't support that at all.
As governor, what would you do? You just stop the program then, correct?
No, we would not completely stop the program, because, you know, we do need to offer that up, but we do not need to have it be something that is so overwhelming as what Ramaswamy is trying to push on Ohio.
A quick question here also. I think I got the gist of that. What about this with Amy Acton? If Amy Acton was to, if you were to win and you were to go up against Amy Acton, what would be your strategy?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Joe, I'm the only candidate that's going to be able to beat Amy Acton. I am the only candidate that is going to have enough cross appeal to be able to pull in voters from both sides of the aisle. Definitely Ramaswamy, being so out of touch, is never going to be able to do that. Casey, with his rants and all of the things that he does, he is just going to be seen as someone that's just not mentally sound. So he's not going to be able to do that. But I really believe that I am going to be able to, with all of the things that we bring to the table with Stu and I, we're going to be able to cross over and pull voters from both sides. So was that your question, Joe, or were you asking something?
No, that's fine. Different? That's fine. All right, George, I'll give you a last question here tonight. Do you have a good one?
I always have a good one, but my first point is, just as a point of information, Robert A. Taft II was our governor 30 years ago. If you wanted to
Taft
know.
was, huh?
Yeah, good old Robert Taft.
Not the original Taft, but
no,
the son.
His grandfather was a hero in the U.S. Senate in the 1950s, a great patriot, and I believe he was murdered also, but that's another story. And just as a point of information for Heather, the H-1B program is a federal program, so the state really doesn't have much influence on that. I think Trump was prattling about increasing that, and Trump was prattling about bringing in more Chinese. So again, I agree with President Trump 87.42% of the time, but sometimes he sounds like a braying ass at times. So the way to bring jobs to Ohio, and again, that needs to be pointed out about education. But you have to remember, education, one of the most educated and advanced educational systems in the world, with PhDs and masters and scientists, was the old Soviet Union. And they were a basket case economically because economics and free enterprise rely on that investment of capital per worker. This is the Austrian School of Economics. And by the way, also as a point of information, Trump was talking not 9 trillion, he was talking 20 to 30 trillion of investments from the Saudis and the Japanese and all these other people. So the more investment we have, that's what wage rates are predicated on, the amount of capital invested per worker. So we definitely need to bring back these jobs that have high intensity capital invested in, and manufacturing is one of them. And I just want to point out, Kerry Coleman in his campaign for Congress, that is one of our goals, to bring more capital to the state of Ohio. Kerry's district, District 13, was at one time the rubber capital of the world and the glass capital of the world, and that all went to China and everything else. We need to bring those jobs back with investment. So my question is, how do you plan to bring investment into Ohio? Because again, the number could be staggering, 20 to 30 trillion. How do we attract that capital back to Ohio?
So I don't know if Stu or Heather, either one of you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just an old-fashioned business case. I mean, there's a business case that is being done by even like a sports organization, you name it. It's like you talked about, Joe. It's like we are centrally located. We're mostly flat. We have all these natural resources. We have the logistical tentacles throughout the entire country. And we have a dormant workforce. I mean, could you imagine what Ohio looks like to put Dayton, Akron, Cleveland back to work, Toledo? I mean, it would be such an economic boom that we've never seen. And then couple that with doing away with property taxes. But again, to get that foreign investment, that 20-some trillion dollars, I was being very modest because I saw a couple numbers that said around 9. But shoot, even if we got $1 trillion back to Ohio, invest that capital, I mean, it shouldn't be hard. The business case is there. It's already laid out. We've got to be able to pitch this to those foreign investors and get that back here.
Gotcha. Well, Heather, I'm going to let you just say the last word here for your campaign. I really, I like you a lot. I like Stu a lot. I'm wishing you the best of luck. And, you got a parting words for us with your campaign?
Absolutely. First off, I want to thank you all very much for allowing us to come on your show and be heard, because that's the way that we're gonna get our word out there and let people know who we are and what we stand behind. But I just want Ohio voters to know that we are going to offer them representation for the first time. We do everything that we possibly can to make sure we are listening, Ohio. We give out our private cell phone numbers. We speak to you whenever you call. We do everything that we can, because that is what true representation is. We are public servants, and that is the way that it should be. And Stu and I will bring common sense, and we will bring true representation back to Ohio.
Well, thank you again. Yes, thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. Stu, thank you again, too. And best of luck. And we'll find out. We've got the primary coming up in a couple months. So,
well, thank you,
Heather. Thank you, Stu. Thank you very
again.
much.
Thank you very much. God bless you guys.
Good night, all.
Wait 1 second. George, are you still there?
Of course I'm here.
All right, let's talk about this. You've been wanting to talk about Kerry. Let's talk about Kerry here for a few minutes. So he's got a big fundraiser coming up. So tell me about Kerry. Kerry Coleman. What's going on? He's in the Akron. He's running for a congressional seat in Akron-Canton area, correct?
Yes, it's the 13th congressional district. It's all of Summit County, part of Portage, and part of Stark. But all of Summit and Akron are included in the district. And Kerry and his campaign manager, Dakota Sawyer, had a wonderful trip to Washington this week, met with many members of the Ohio congressional delegation, met with the National Republican Congressional Committee, met with the White House, and basically the way they look at things to earn their endorsement, especially Trump's endorsement, and or funding from the National Republican Congressional Committee. And again, it's not 100% locked, but what they say is you need to at least raise a couple $100,000 on your own by the end of March, middle of April, that kind of thing. So it's not a lot of money. It's just to show that you're a viable, serious candidate. But this brings me to criticism of my fellow conservatives. Conservatives love to talk. Now, this event is $100. My answer to that is whippy, $100. Again, some people have pledged, and they won't be there. They pledged $2,000 and $2,500 and $1,000. But with conservatives, my criticism is conservatives love to talk a good game, but if we don't raise the money from fellow conservatives, that'll force us to get money from, and I'm not saying the Ohio deep state or the deep swamp, but from the establishment, because last election cycle between the two candidates and all the PACs and different things, I believe they spent $8 or $9 million. So, I mean, this $100 fundraiser is just to get the ball rolling and to be able to lay the groundwork and start making phone calls. But if we don't raise it from our people, you say $100, they go, oh my God. Then it forces us to, it forces us to, it forces, I had it one time when we were putting up Trump billboards, and I said, I'll put in $1,000 if Mr. So-and-so puts in 500. He says, 500? I said, okay, I'll put in 500 if you put in 100. Oh my God. I said, okay, I'll put in 100 if you put in 10. He's like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I said, Mr. So-and-so, you really should have worked harder when you were younger or something if you can't afford $10 now. I mean, this is like Mrs. Marx talking to Karl Marx. I wish he would have stopped writing about economics and capital and did a better job about raising capital than talking about it.
All right. So how is he doing? This is a fundraiser coming up here. This is a comedy night fundraiser. Lou Santini. Is Lou Santini funny?
According to Kerry, he is. I don't know, because I'm not a very funny kind of guy. A lot of people say I'm a little bit too serious and too annoying. But I'll take Kerry's word, and I'll say Lou Santini's a funny guy.
Okay. Mulligan's Restaurant and Pub, right there, Belden Village in Canton. So it's $100. So all the conservatives have to dig in and pull out a $100 bill. Unless you really want to spend some money. What the bronze is $500, silver's $1,000, gold $2,500, platinum $3,500, and he's got to come up with, you were just saying, $200,000, and then the big boys in Washington will start throwing some money towards him. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily. That's the floor to be considered a serious candidate. If you raise $1.39, again, it doesn't go far. But I don't like Hugh Hewitt, but I do like what he says. He will support the most conservative candidate who can win. That's one of the keys. And money, unfortunately, when you're talking of a district with 750,000 people, you're talking TV, you're talking newspaper ads, you're talking radio ads, you're talking flyers, signs.
Oh, we got you. Yeah.
I mean, you know how that is, Joe. But yeah, you're not going to do it with $1.39.
No.
I mean, Kerry has a good name, a good reputation,
and he used to be a weatherman too, if I recall.
Yes, absolutely.
He never predicted a bad cloudy day. That's what I remember about it.
No.
All right, so quickly, how many other fundraisers? Because he ain't going to get it all from this one. Does he have a lot of fundraisers lined up? You guys got to bring in $200,000.
Yeah, we'll be having multiple fundraisers. Plus, Carrie's making phone calls every day to different people. And again, since we can't rely on our fellow conservatives that much, we have to rely somewhat on people considered part of the establishment. I won't name any names, but your standard Republican contributors who could throw in 1,000, 2,000. The maximum contribution is $3,500. I've already pledged that, and I've already actually paid it. I didn't pledge it; I paid it. But it's if we want good representation, unfortunately,
got to get him in there. So he's going up against Amelia Sykes, and we got to get rid of her. And that the district is about a 4 percentage point Democrat lean.
It's actually a little bit less, about 3.
Okay, 3%. Well, he's got a shot then. He's got to get the money. He's got to get the support, and people got to help him. And that is Saturday, February 21st, 6 p.m. Okay.
Yeah, it's at Mulligan's Pub. It's the Everhard Road exit off of I-77 in beautiful Canton, Ohio.
Right by the Canton Hall of Fame. Beautiful
Not too
Canton
far, right?
Hall of Fame. All right.
Not too far.
Not too far from that. All right, I guess we're going to wrap it up. Are you guys still with us? Let me see. Oh, you're still with us? Oh, there you are.
We're still here. Yeah, we're still here. Absolutely.
So what's the last word? Give me the last word.
Well, I'm certainly glad that Heather Hill and Stu Motes joined us. I've liked them from the very beginning, and I just wish them well in the whole run. I really do. They're very nice people, very gracious, and we'll try to help them out in any way, shape, or form we can.
Yeah, they are great. Last words, Jonathan.
My last words. So a disclosure. I am actually also helping Kerry Coleman's campaign in his bid to unseat Amelia Sykes. Kerry Coleman and I are longtime friends. I've known him for 25 plus years, I believe. And Kerry Coleman, I'm looking at the chart now, the endorsements are rolling in, and these are the good guys, not the establishment yucky people within the Republican Party. We've got Bob Gullick has endorsed Kerry Coleman. Heidi Workman has endorsed Kerry Coleman, and Tim Barhorst has endorsed Kerry Coleman. So stay tuned. I will probably be working to arrange Kerry Coleman to come on and join us on this program so we can hear it from him directly. But just in the interest of full disclosure, I am personally helping out longtime friend Kerry Coleman in his bid. We need to get rid of some of these bad people like Amelia Sykes and get better people in that office. Those are my closing thoughts.
Oh, you got it. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everybody. And George, get Kerry on anytime he wants to come on the show. And get him on your radio show, too, your Monday Night Roundtable. When is that on again?
Some part of the week, I don't recall when. But I'm giving this to Kerry's campaign for free. I'm not charging a royalty. Yikes. It's Amelia Sykes. So
all right. Got to get that on the billboard signs and everything.
Yeah.
See you later.
And you said you weren't a comedian.
Yeah, right. Excellent.